Hello ladies, that time again where you're looking forward to your next English exam. I thought I'd just do a quick video on the top tips for paper 2 question 5. So remember that this is in section B, which is worth half your marks. So really important you give the full 45 minutes to this question. When you turn to section B and you start looking at your question 5, immediately there are two things that I think you should write down on your paper to remind you of how you should be answering this question. So the first word is range, and we'll come on to that into a second as to why that's important. And the second one is a forest, and I'm hoping that this is ringing lots of bells for you. So the first word, range. The examiner is going to look to award you marks depending on the amount of different elements that are in your writing. So for example, you need to be including a range of vocabulary. You need to be attempting to use ambitious vocabulary to show off to the examiner. So once you've finished your piece of writing, you need to be proofreading and making sure that you don't have words such as nice, good and said. What else could you use? What other vocabulary could you use to show off to the examiner that you are deserving of those higher marks? Secondly, language techniques. Of course, you need to be using as many as possible, making sure that there is at least one in every paragraph that you write. Metaphors, similes, alliteration, pathetic fallacy, repetition, I'm sure you know more. If not, go back to the last video about question 2 in language paper 1 and that will help you just revise those techniques. Thirdly, you definitely need to be using punctuation. So somewhere along the line, you should try and put in a little bit of dialogue. And I'll show you how to do this even in things like newspapers and leaflets and speeches in the next slide. There needs to be a range of sentence lengths and sentence types. Again, aim to put a one-word sentence in there. You're pointing it out to the examiner very obviously that you have got different lengths of sentences if you use a one-word sentence. Paragraph lengths in themselves, especially when you're trying to be making a point. Remember, you are writing to share your opinion, to put across your opinion. So there are going to be different elements of your writing that you want to emphasise. And a great way of doing this is through paragraph lengths. If you have a paragraph that is 2 or 3 lines long, that's going to make that stand out. So make sure you're saying something powerful with it. And lastly, sentence starters. Writing gets so boring if all the time it starts with I think, I believe, I think, I believe. How could you mix it up a bit? And again, if your sentences do start the same, that's an indication to the examiner that you don't have a grasp as to how to craft language. Okay, so let's recap a forest. I'm sure this is something you've gone over a lot and you may have lots of other techniques that you know of, but let's just use this as a basis. So A, alliteration, F, facts, O, opinions, R, rhetorical question and repetition, E, emotive language, S, statistics, T, triadic structure or the rule of 3. Now, like I said, I'm sure you know many other techniques that you could use in your writing. But if you have this on your paper, you can use it as a tick list and you can literally check it off to make sure you have used those things to help persuade people to look at something from your point of view. Okay, like I said, we want to be making your writing rich. And so you need to make sure that there is at least one of these things in each of your paragraphs. So in the previous slide, we discussed about how we could insert dialogue into your writing so that you're using speech marks and you're showing the examiner that you can use a range of punctuation. Well, one way of doing this is by using opinions. So for example, if you are writing about anything to do with health, you could write the opinion of a doctor. And before you go into the exam, you need to have the name of a doctor in your head. Make it up. It could be Dr. Smith, it could be Dr. Feelgood, it doesn't matter. What matters is in your writing, you can then say, Dr. Feelgood suggests, speech marks, everybody needs to have 8 hours sleep a night, closing speech marks. And there you've shown that you can use that punctuation. If you're writing about beauty or body image, you could use a celebrity who is well known for being beautiful. particularly if it's about sort of female body image. Celebrity who is known to be curvy, you could use to help promote sensible body image within young girls. Again, if you are writing something about feminism, then you need to be finding somebody who is going to add gravity to your argument. Emma Watson would be a perfect example. So by using someone else's opinion, you're adding weight to your argument, but you're also showing the examiner that you can use speech marks and a range of punctuation. So this is the mark scheme for section B, your writing. This is just the very, very, very top band, which I know lots of you are aiming for. So let's just make sure that you're going to be actually doing what you need to do. So first of all, you need to be making sure that you are talking or writing to your audience. Okay? If your audience is your peers, you're going to be writing very, very differently than if you are writing to the older generation. Okay? If you are writing for a job interview, you're going to be writing in a different way than if you're just writing to a friend. Okay? So make sure that what you're writing matches the audience. Assuredly match to purpose. So make sure that your writing matches your purpose too. Again, if you are persuading, if you're putting your opinion across, use those aphorist features. And ambitious vocabulary, something that we've already spoken about. But make sure in your first paragraph you are hitting these things to show the examiner that you deserve to be in level 4. Year 11, I know that you know this. You've got this, okay? Just remember that section B, you need to spend 45 minutes on it. Write range and aphorist down on your piece of paper immediately so you can remember what it is you need to do to access those higher grades. Good luck.